take the bus. We're getting your sister a Tesla," Dad said at my graduation. Then the dean announced, "And now our youngest billionaire graduate." My parents slowly dropped their programs. Oh, the sting of betrayal. Imagine standing there in your graduation cap and gown, watching your classmates drive by in their shiny cars, only to get a text. A picture of your 19-year-old sister beaming beside a brand new Tesla. Her graduation gift. From the very same parents who told you, their college graduate, that the bus was perfectly reliable transportation. My name's Brooke Mitchell, I'm 22, and that moment at the bus stop, in the drizzling Seattle rain, was the crushing culmination of a lifetime of being the invisible daughter. Our family wasn't struggling, not by a long shot. My dad, Ryan, was a senior software developer, pulling in a salary that put us firmly in the upper middle class. My mom, Stephanie, sold luxury real estate, driving clients around in her Mercedes to view million-dollar lakefront properties. We lived in a beautiful 4-bedroom house with a view of Lake Washington. From the outside, we were the picture-perfect American family. But inside those walls, there was a clear hierarchy, and I quickly learned my place. My sister, Amber, 3 years younger than me, was the golden child from the moment she was born. She had my mother's charisma, my father's quick wit, and this magnetic confidence I both envied and admired. Me? I was the responsible one. Studious, quiet, and, according to my mother, too sensitive. The pattern started early. I remember being 7, Amber 4, and my parents filming every second of her preschool dance recital. 2 weeks later, they missed my school science fair where I won first place because Amber had a cold. It wasn't a big deal, Mom assured me. When I showed them my blue ribbon later that night, they barely glanced at it, too busy helping Amber build a pillow fort. "That's nice, honey," my mother said, turning back to Amber. "Look how creative your sister is with those cushions." It was a punch to the gut, even then. By middle school, the differences just screamed. Amber's bedroom was redecorated 3 times to match her evolving interests. My furniture? The same childhood set, with promises of updates soon, that never came. When I brought home straight A's, my dad would just nod. "That's what we expect from you, Brooke." But when Amber managed B's and C's, they'd take her out for ice cream to celebrate her improvement. The most glaring example hit on our respective 16th birthdays. For mine, a modest dinner at my favorite local restaurant, just immediate family. I got practical gifts, a laptop, some clothes, and a promise they'd help me find a used car when the time was right. For Amber's 16th, they rented a venue, hired a DJ, and invited 60 of her closest friends. She got designer clothes, jewelry, and the crowning gift, a brand new Honda Civic with a giant red bow. When I dared to point out the difference, my mother explained, "Amber is more social, honey. She needs these things to build confidence. You've always been so independent." 2 months after Amber got her new Honda, they finally helped me buy my first car, a 10-year-old Toyota with mysterious engine noises and a passenger door that didn't open from the inside. "It has character," my father said, slapping the hood. "And it'll teach you about car maintenance." I just wanted to scream. High school was more of the same. My parents attended every one of Amber's volleyball games, but only 2 of my debate team competitions, even when we made it to state finals. When I was accepted to the University of Washington with a partial academic scholarship, they seemed more interested in Amber's upcoming prom. "Of course you got in," my mother said when I showed her my acceptance letter. "You've always been smart. Now, do you think Amber should go with the blue dress or the silver for prom?" The silver really brings out her eyes. It was soul-crushing. The only person who truly saw me was my grandmother, Hannah. My mother's mother, a retired English professor, valued education and hard work. When my parents missed my high school graduation speech as valedictorian because Amber had a volleyball tournament in Portland, Grandma Hannah was there, front and center, beaming. "They don't see what I see," she told me afterward, squeezing my hand. "But someday you'll build a life where your worth is recognized, Brooke. And it will be beautiful." I clung to those words throughout college. Amber followed me to the University of Washington a few years later, despite lower grades and test scores. Our college experiences couldn't have been more different. I worked 20 hours a week at the campus library to supplement my scholarship, maintained a 3.9 GPA, and lived frugally in a shared apartment. Amber lived in the expensive dorms freshman year, then moved to a luxury apartment complex. She joined a sorority, changed her major 3 times, and maintained what she called a solid C average. My parents paid her full tuition, rent, and gave her a generous monthly allowance. Meanwhile, I stretched every dollar, picking up extra shifts during holidays to make ends meet. Through all this, I told myself, someday they will see my accomplishments. Someday they will be proud of me the way they are proud of Amber. As my college graduation approached, after 4 years of relentless hard work, I thought, maybe, just maybe, this would be that moment. I had secured a job interview at a prestigious marketing firm in Portland. I was graduating with honors. Surely now they would see me. I was wrong. But I didn't know just how wrong until the day I found out about Amber's Tesla. My final semester of college was a marathon of all-nighters, coffee-fueled study sessions, and balancing work with internship applications. While my classmates were enjoying senior bar crawls and spring break trips, I was pulling double shifts at the library and finalizing my capstone project. Despite the exhaustion, I maintained my 3.9 GPA and even secured that promising job interview at Horizon Marketing in Portland. All while my ancient Toyota made increasingly concerning noises whenever I drove over 40 miles per hour. 3 weeks before graduation, I called my parents to discuss logistics for the big day. I'd been dropping hints for months that my car probably wouldn't make it to graduation, especially since the ceremony was a good 30 minutes from my apartment. So, about graduation day, I said, twisting the phone cord around my finger, I'm a bit worried about transportation. The Toyota is making that knocking sound again, and the mechanic says it might be the transmission. My father replied, clearly distracted. I could hear him typing in the background. Can't one of your roommates drive you? They're all participating in the ceremony too, Dad. We all need to be there early for lineup. Well, we'll figure something out, my mother chimed in from the extension. By the way, did we tell you Amber made Dean's List this semester? Her advisor says if she keeps this up, she might graduate a semester early. I bit my lip, knowing Amber's Dean's List at the School of Communications required only a 3.2 GPA, nowhere near my consistent 3.9. Still, I congratulated them and tried once more to address my transportation concerns. I was thinking maybe. Oh, honey, can we talk about this later? My mother interrupted. Your father and I are heading out to look at something special for Amber. We'll call you tomorrow. They hung up before I could respond. 2 days later, I stopped by my parents' house to pick up some winter clothes. They weren't expecting me. As I let myself in, I overheard them talking excitedly in the kitchen. Amber's going to flip when she sees it, my father was saying. The white interior is perfect. I know, my mother replied. And the salesman said we can have it ready by next weekend. Just in time for Brooke's graduation. Amber can drive it there and show everyone. I froze in the hallway, my heart pounding. Don't you think it's a bit much for a freshman? My father asked, though his tone suggested he'd already been convinced. A Tesla is a serious car. Ryan, my mother insisted. She maintained AB average this year while adjusting to college and sorority life. That deserves recognition. Besides, her Honda is already 2 years old, and all her sorority sisters are getting new cars for sophomore year. I must have made a noise because they both looked up, startled to see me. Brooke, we didn't hear you come in, my mother said, quickly closing the laptop they'd been looking at. I came to get my winter stuff, I said quietly. What's this about a Tesla? Before they could answer, the front door burst open and Amber bounded in, her sorority tote bag slung over one shoulder, her blonde hair perfectly styled. Mom, Dad, guess what? Kylie's parents got her a Range Rover for sophomore year. And it's absolutely. She stopped short when she saw me. Oh, hey Brooke. What are you doing here? My parents exchanged a look that confirmed everything I'd overheard. My mother recovered first, her real estate smile sliding into place. Actually, we have some exciting news, she said, putting her arm around Amber. We were going to wait, but since everyone's here. Amber, honey, in recognition of your hard work this year, and since Brooke's graduating next week. My father finished for her, beaming with pride. We're getting you a Tesla Model 3, white with the premium interior package you wanted. Amber screamed and jumped up and down while I stood there, invisible once again. Not only were they buying her a Tesla as a reward for mediocre freshman grades, but they were somehow framing it as connected to my graduation, an event that should have been about my achievements. Oh my God, are you serious? A Tesla? Taylor's going to die. Amber threw her arms around our parents, then turned to me with a smirk. See, Brooke, some of us get cars that actually work. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but my mother cut me off. We're going to pick it up next Friday, and then we can all drive to Brooke's graduation in style on Saturday. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Not only was my graduation being overshadowed, but they hadn't even considered how I would get to my own ceremony. I was just expected to ride along in Amber's new Tesla like an afterthought. I mumbled something about needing to get my clothes and fled to the basement, tears burning my eyes. As I stuffed sweaters into a duffel bag, I could hear them upstairs, excitedly discussing features and color options. That night, back in my apartment, I broke down while telling my roommate Jessica what had happened. Your parents are buying your teenage sister a Tesla while you can barely afford oil changes for your death trap? Jessica was furious on my behalf. And they didn't even think about how you're getting to graduation? That's beyond messed up, Brooke. Maybe I'm overreacting, I said, wiping my eyes. They've always been this way. That doesn't make it right, Jessica insisted. You need to stand up for yourself. Tell them how you feel. What's the point? They don't hear me. They never have. Then make them hear you, Jessica said firmly. You're graduating with honors. You've worked your ass off while Amber's been partying in a sorority house on their dime. If they can't see your worth, you need to show it to them. I nodded, but as graduation day approached, my anxiety only grew. Would I finally find the courage to speak up, or would I stay silent as I had for 22 years? The Friday before graduation dawned bright and clear, a rare gift in Seattle's typically gray spring. I woke up early to take my final exam in marketing analytics, the last hurdle before officially completing my degree. Despite the knot in my stomach that had been there since discovering Amber's Tesla surprise, I managed to focus long enough to ace the exam. Finished with flying colors, I see, Professor Wilson said as I handed in my test. Not that I'd expect anything less from you, Brooke. You've been one of my most dedicated students. I smiled, grateful for the recognition. Thank you. Your class has been invaluable. After the exam, I headed to my final shift at the campus library. My supervisor, Thomas, had arranged a small goodbye gathering, complete with a card signed by everyone and a modest cake. We're really going to miss you around here, Thomas said, handing me a gift bag that contained a beautiful leather-bound journal. For years, without a single late arrival or missed shift, you've set the bar impossibly high for your replacement. I blinked back tears, touched by the gesture. Thank you all so much. This job has been a lifeline for me. After saying my goodbyes, I checked my phone to find 3 missed calls from my mother. I called her back as I walked to my apartment. Brooke, finally, she answered on the first ring. We're at the Tesla dealership picking up Amber's car. It's absolutely stunning. White exterior with white vegan leather interior. Premium everything. That's great, I managed, swallowing the lump in my throat. About tomorrow. Yes, that's why I'm calling, she interrupted. The ceremony starts at 1 p.m., right? We'll need to leave early to find parking. Your father thinks we should get there by 11:30 to get good seats. Mom, I said firmly. I need to be there by 10 a.m. for graduate lineup. I've been trying to talk to you about transportation all week. Oh. She paused, as if this thought hadn't occurred to her. Well, we'll be busy getting Amber's car ready for its first big drive. Can you just take the bus? There's a direct route from your apartment to campus, isn't there? I stopped walking, stunned by her casual suggestion. You want me to take the bus to my college graduation in my cap and gown? It's just practical, honey. Everyone else will be with us in Amber's new Tesla, and there won't be room if we need to take your grandmother, too. The bus is perfectly reliable transportation. The world seemed to tilt around me. Everyone else, as if I weren't part of the family. As if I were some distant acquaintance who needed to find my own way to the event. You're suggesting I ride the bus to my graduation while my younger sister drives her brand new Tesla that you bought her for no particular milestone to my graduation ceremony? I couldn't keep the hurt and anger from my voice. Don't be dramatic, Brooke. My mother sighed. You've always been so independent. I thought you'd appreciate handling it yourself instead of relying on us to chauffeur you around. In the background, I could hear Amber and my father laughing about something, completely oblivious to our conversation. I have to go, I said, my voice thick with unshed tears. Amber's special day is waiting. It's the practical solution, my mother repeated, either missing or ignoring my sarcasm. We'll see you at the ceremony tomorrow. Don't forget to wear that nice dress under your gown. I hung up and stood frozen on the sidewalk. People streamed past me on their way to Friday evening activities. A mixture of emotions washed over me, shock, hurt, anger, and finally, a strange sense of clarity. This was who my parents were. This had always been who they were. No achievement of mine would ever measure up to Amber's existence. I dialed my grandmother's number with shaking hands. Grandma Hannah, it's Brooke. There's my graduate. Her warm voice instantly provided comfort. Are you ready for tomorrow? They're making me take the bus. I blurted out, tears finally spilling over. To my own graduation because they're busy with Amber's new Tesla. There was a long pause before my grandmother spoke, her voice unusually hard. They did what? Through broken sobs, I explained everything. The Tesla, the transportation issue, years of being overlooked and undervalued. Oh, my darling girl, Grandma Hannah said when I finished. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I've watched this pattern for too long. Your mother did the same thing to your Aunt Carol when they were growing up. What do I do? I asked, feeling like a lost child despite being a college graduate. You have 2 choices, she said firmly. You can either continue to accept their treatment, or you can start setting boundaries. Neither is easy, but only one leads to healing. I'm so tired of being invisible, I whispered. Then stop allowing them to look past you, she replied. But whatever you decide, know that I see you, Brooke. I've always seen you, and I am so tremendously proud of the woman you've become, with or without their recognition. After talking with my grandmother, I returned to my apartment and spent the evening preparing for graduation. I carefully ironed my gown, polished my dress shoes, and set out the sensible navy blue dress my mother had insisted I wear, the one that wouldn't call attention to myself. As I hung up the gown, my phone pinged with a text from my childhood friend, Mia. Can't wait to see you walk tomorrow. You've worked so hard for this. Let me know if you need anything at all. I stared at the message, grateful for the people who did value me. Perhaps that was the key, focusing on those who saw me, rather than lamenting those who didn't. I set my alarm for 7 a.m., determined to get through graduation with dignity, even if it meant riding the bus in my cap and gown. Tomorrow would be my day, even if my family couldn't see that. And maybe, just maybe, it would also be the day I finally found my voice. The morning of graduation, I woke before my alarm, some light filtering through my thin curtains. For a brief, blissful moment, I felt only excitement. I was graduating today, the culmination of 4 years of hard work and determination. Then reality crashed back as I remembered I'd be taking the bus to my own ceremony. I checked my phone to find congratulatory texts from friends and a single message from my mother. Don't forget we're meeting by the main entrance at 12:30. Amber wants to take family photos with her new car. No, congratulations. No, we're proud of you. Just logistics centered around Amber and her Tesla. I took a deep breath and got ready, carefully doing my makeup and hair before putting on the navy dress and my honors cords. As I placed the cap on my head and looked in the mirror, I felt a surge of pride despite everything. I had done this. Me. Not my parents' money or connections, just my own hard work and persistence. My roommates had already left for the ceremony, each with their own families coming to pick them up. The apartment was quiet as I gathered my things, took one last look around, and headed out to the bus stop 3 blocks away. The Seattle morning was gray and misty, a light rain starting to fall as I walked. I clutched my cap to keep it from blowing away, already feeling droplets soaking into my gown. By the time I reached the bus stop, the rain had picked up and I huddled under the small shelter, trying to keep my graduation attire dry. A car honked as it drove past, and I looked up to see classmates from my marketing program waving from inside, their families driving them to the ceremony. I forced a smile and waved back, then turned away quickly, not wanting them to stop and ask why I was at a bus stop in my cap and gown. Graduating today, dear, a voice asked. I turned to see an elderly woman with kind eyes sitting on the bench, an umbrella clutched in her gnarled hands. Yes, I replied, trying to sound cheerful. University of Washington. And you're taking the bus? She looked surprised. My family had other transportation arrangements, I said diplomatically. The woman studied me for a moment, then patted the seat beside her. I'm Doris. Sit down before you get any wetter. I sat, grateful for the company and the shelter of her large umbrella. Let me guess, Doris said. Family drama. I laughed to spite myself. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been there, she replied. I graduated from nursing school in 1962. My parents didn't come because they were attending my brother's baseball game. I took 2 buses in my white uniform and cap. How did you handle it? I asked, suddenly eager for her wisdom. Not well at first, Doris admitted. I was angry for years, but eventually I realized that their failure to see my worth didn't diminish it. It just showed their limitations, not mine. Before I could respond, the bus arrived, its brakes squealing as it pulled up to the curb. Doris insisted I board first, and the driver smiled as he saw my graduation attire. Congratulations, he called out, refusing my fare. It's on me today. Consider it a graduation gift. Inside the bus, several passengers offered similar congratulations. A woman in scrubs insisted I take her seat at the front. The kindness of these strangers brought tears to my eyes. Their recognition was more meaningful than they could know. As the bus rumbled toward campus, my phone vibrated with a text from Amber. OMG, the Tesla is amazing. Mom and Dad are letting me drive everyone to your thing. So excited for everyone to see it. Attached was a picture of her posing beside the gleaming white Tesla, my parents beaming proudly behind her. I turned off my phone and slipped it into my pocket, unwilling to let it spoil this moment. The bus journey brought back memories of other times I'd been overlooked. My 16th birthday, when my parents forgot to pick me up from debate practice because they were shopping for Amber's new phone. High school graduation, when they arrived late and left early for Amber's dance recital. Countless achievements met with distracted acknowledgement, while Amber's smallest accomplishments were celebrated lavishly. Yet, amid these painful memories, I found myself thinking about Doris's words. Their failure to see my worth didn't diminish it. Perhaps it was time I truly believed that. The bus approached campus, now crowded with graduates and their families. Through the window, I could see proud parents taking photos, grandparents carrying flowers, siblings holding congratulatory signs. A lump formed in my throat, but I swallowed it down. Today was still my achievement, even if my family couldn't recognize it properly. As I prepared to exit, Doris touched my arm. Remember, dear, family isn't always who raises you. Sometimes it's who sees you. Find those people and keep them close. I thanked her, oddly moved by this brief encounter with a stranger who somehow understood exactly what I needed to hear. Stepping off the bus, I spotted Jessica waiting by the campus entrance, scanning the crowd. Brooke, she called, rushing over. I was worried you wouldn't make it. Did you really take the bus in your gown? Family tradition, I said wryly, straightening my slightly damp cap. Jessica's expression darkened. They really made you bus it while they're parading around in a brand new Tesla? That's beyond messed up. It's fine, I said automatically, then corrected myself. Actually, no, it's not fine, but I'm not going to let it ruin today. That's my girl. Jessica linked her arm through mine. And just so you know, my parents want to take us both out for dinner after the ceremony. They insist. I felt a rush of gratitude for Jessica and her family, who had always made me feel welcome. I'd like that. As we walked toward the graduate assembly area, I felt simultaneously drained and determined. The bus ride had given me time to reflect on years of inequality and overlooked achievements. But it had also shown me the kindness of strangers and reminded me that I wasn't alone, even if my own family couldn't see me clearly. Ready to graduate? Jessica asked as we approached the sea of black gowns and caps. More than ready, I replied, squaring my shoulders. It's time. The graduate assembly area buzzed with excitement. I lined up with the other marketing majors, trying to focus on the momentous occasion rather than my family situation. Where are your folks? Asked Tyler, a classmate. My family's been texting me nonstop trying to find the right entrance. They're coming separately, I said vaguely, adjusting my cap. Mine too, added Zoe, another marketing major. My parents are divorced and insisting on sitting on opposite sides of the auditorium. Everyone laughed, sharing stories of overeager parents and family quirks. I smiled along, but remained quiet, not wanting to explain that my family was late because they were showing off my sister's new Tesla, a gift they'd given her instead of helping me get to my own graduation. Through the windows of the assembly hall, I could see families streaming toward the main auditorium. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Where should we park the Tesla? Is there special graduation parking? I didn't bother responding. Let them figure it out themselves for once. As we lined up alphabetically for the procession, I caught sight of my family finally arriving, 20 minutes late, making a scene as they entered. Amber led the way in a tight white dress that matched her new car. My parents followed behind her like attendants rather than the other way around. Several heads turned to watch their entrance, exactly the kind of attention Amber thrived on. The ceremony began with pomp and circumstance playing as we marched into the auditorium. Despite everything, I felt a swell of emotion as I entered. The culmination of years of hard work embodied in this moment. The university president welcomed everyone, then introduced the commencement speaker, Dr. Eliza Chin, a renowned marketing executive and UW alumna. Dr. Chin approached the podium with confidence, surveying the graduates with a warm smile. Today, I want to talk about something they don't teach in business classes, your intrinsic value, she began. I straightened in my seat, suddenly alert. Society often measures worth through external validation, the car you drive, the house you live in, the attention you receive. But true value comes from within. It's built through perseverance, integrity, and self-belief, especially when no one else is watching. Her words seemed to pierce directly through me, as if she were speaking to my exact situation. Some of you have had every advantage: financial support, family connections, endless encouragement. Others have fought for every inch of progress, often unseen and uncelebrated it. To those students especially, I say this: the fact that others failed to recognize your light doesn't make it shine any less brightly. In fact, the struggle to be seen often creates the most resilient, compassionate leaders. Tears welled in my eyes as Dr. Chin continued, her message resonating with everything I'd been feeling. Your worth is not determined by others' ability to see it. Remember that as you move forward into a world that will continue to overlook quiet excellence in favor of flashy mediocrity. The rest of her speech blurred as I processed her words. Had I been allowing my parents' perception to define my worth all these years? The revelation felt simultaneously painful and liberating. When it came time for graduates to cross the stage, I took a deep breath and prepared myself. Row by row, we stood and filed toward the stage. As my row was called, I scanned the audience, spotting my family in the middle section. My mother was on her phone, my father was checking his watch, and Amber was taking selfies. None of them were watching the stage. Brooke Mitchell, Bachelor of Science in Marketing, summa cum laude, the dean announced as I stepped onto the stage. I expected to cross in silence like many others before me. Instead, I heard a thunderous cheer from the back of the auditorium. Startled, I looked up to see my grandmother Hannah standing, despite her arthritis, applauding wildly. Beside her were Jessica's parents and several of my library coworkers, including Thomas. They held up a banner. "Congratulations, Brooke. We see you." Emotion overwhelmed me as I accepted my diploma, tears flowing freely now. These people, some related by blood, others by circumstance, had made the effort to be here, fully present for me. They saw me. They celebrated me. And in that moment, it was enough. As I returned to my seat, I glanced at my family. My parents looked confused and embarrassed by the unexpected cheering section. Amber appeared annoyed that attention had been diverted from her. For once, I didn't care about their reactions. After the ceremony, graduates flooded into the courtyard to meet their families. I found my grandmother first, pulling her into a tight hug. "You came," I whispered, still in disbelief. "Your doctor said the trip would be too much with your arthritis." "Wild horses couldn't have kept me away," Grandma Hannah replied, cupping my face in her hands. "I'm so proud of you, my brilliant girl." Thomas and my other coworkers offered congratulations before tactfully withdrawing to give me time with family. Jessica's parents insisted on taking photos of me with my diploma, treating the moment with the reverence it deserved. It was in this warm bubble of genuine celebration that my parents and Amber finally found me. "There you are," my mother exclaimed, as if I'd been the one who was difficult to locate. "We've been looking everywhere. Who are all those people cheering for you?" "It was a bit much, don't you think?" "Those were people who wanted to celebrate with me," I said simply. "Well, we need to take family photos by Amber's new car before the parking fee increases," my father said, checking his watch again. "The Tesla is parked in the VIP section. Had to pay extra, but worth it for the statement it makes." "Seriously, Brooke, wait until you see it," Amber gushed, completely oblivious to the significance of the day. "The interior is amazing. Everyone's been stopping to look at it. Some guy even asked if I was a professional model doing a Tesla promotion." Something inside me finally snapped. Quietly. Definitively. For years of working myself to exhaustion. For years of maintaining near-perfect grades while working part-time. For years of watching my sister get everything handed to her while I struggled. And now, on what should have been my day, they couldn't even pretend to care about my achievement. "No," I said, the word coming out clear and firm. "No, what?" my mother asked, already turning toward the parking lot. "No, I will not take family photos by Amber's Tesla on my graduation day." My father frowned. "Don't be difficult, Brooke. It's just a few pictures." "It's never just been about pictures," I said, my voice gaining strength. "It's about a lifetime of being treated as less than. It's about you buying my teenage sister a luxury car while making me take the bus to my own graduation. It's about showing up late to my ceremony because you were too busy fawning over Amber and her new toy." "That's not fair," my mother protested, looking around nervously as nearby families glanced our way. "We've always supported you." "Have you?" I asked, surprising myself with my calm. "When is the last time you attended any event that mattered to me without checking your watch or leaving early for something of Amber's? When have you ever celebrated my achievements with even half the enthusiasm you show for her mediocre ones?" "I got good grades this year," Amber interjected, indignant. "You got C's with a few B's at a university Dad's donations helped you get into, while living in a luxury apartment they pay for with a monthly allowance that exceeds what I make working 20 hours a week," I replied. "And for that, you got a Tesla." "I graduated summa cum laude while working throughout college, and I got a bus ticket." My father's face reddened. "That's completely different. Amber needs more support. You've always been independent." "I had to be independent," I said quietly. "You never gave me any other choice." "Is that what this is about?" my mother asked, her voice rising. "A car? If you wanted a car, you should have said something." "This isn't about the car," my grandmother interjected, stepping forward. Though making her take the bus to graduation while buying her a luxury car certainly brought everything into focus. "This is about seeing your daughter. Really seeing her for the first time in 22 years. My parents turned to her in surprise, as if just noticing her presence. "Mom, this isn't the place," my mother began. "When my granddaughter takes a bus to her college graduation while you parade around with Amber in a brand new Tesla, it becomes my business," Grandma Hannah replied sharply. "Stephanie, you're repeating exactly what your father did to you and Carol." My mother flinched at the mention of her sister, my Aunt Carol, who had limited contact with the family. "Brooke has worked harder than anyone I know," my grandmother continued. "She deserved to have her parents drive her to graduation at minimum. She deserved celebration, recognition, and respect, not to be an afterthought to Amber's new car." A small crowd had gathered, watching the drama unfold. I felt a hand slip into mine and turned to see Jessica standing beside me in silent support. "I need to go," I said, suddenly exhausted by the confrontation. "My friend's family has invited me to a graduation dinner. People who actually want to celebrate with me." "Brooke, you can't just walk away from your family," my father protested. "Watch me," I replied, then turned to leave with Jessica, Grandma Hannah following behind us. As we walked away, I heard Amber ask in a confused voice, "So, are we not taking pictures with the Tesla?" And for the first time in years, I found myself laughing, genuinely laughing at the absurdity of it all. In standing up for myself, I discovered a strength I hadn't known I possessed. Whether my family recognized my worth or not, I finally did. After the graduation ceremony, Jessica's parents took us to a lovely dinner at a waterfront restaurant. They ordered champagne, made heartfelt toasts to my achievement, and treated me like family. Grandma Hannah joined us, her eyes twinkling with pride every time she looked my way. For those few hours, I allowed myself to bask in the celebration I deserved. To Brooke, Jessica's father said, raising his glass, whose determination and brilliance will take her wherever she wants to go. And who finally found her voice today, Grandma Hannah added with a wink. By the time we finished dinner, my phone showed 12 missed calls and 23 text messages from my parents and Amber. I silenced it and slipped it back into my purse. Whatever crisis they were experiencing could wait until tomorrow. Today was mine. Jessica offered to let me stay at her parents' hotel, but I declined. I needed to face my apartment and whatever awaited me there on my own terms. Grandma Hannah squeezed my hand before getting into Jessica's parents' car. Remember, standing up for yourself isn't a one-time event, she said softly. It's a practice. Be gentle with yourself if you falter. I nodded, grateful for her wisdom, and took the bus back to my apartment. As we rounded the corner onto my street, I saw my parents' Mercedes parked outside my building. They were sitting inside, waiting. Taking a deep breath, I got off the bus and approached their car. My mother spotted me first, nudging my father, who had been dozing in the passenger seat. They scrambled out, both looking uncharacteristically disheveled. Brooke, my mother rushed toward me. We've been calling for hours. Where have you been? At my graduation dinner, I replied calmly, with people who wanted to celebrate with me. We need to talk, my father said, his authoritative tone returning. This scene you caused today was completely inappropriate. Let's go inside, I suggested, not wanting to have this conversation on the street. My roommates are gone for the weekend. Once in my apartment, my parents took in the modest surroundings with poorly concealed dismay. My father paced the small living room while my mother perched uncomfortably on our second-hand couch. Brooke, my father began. I understand you were upset about transportation arrangements today, but publicly embarrassing your family was unacceptable. Is that what you think happened? I asked. That I was throwing a tantrum over a ride? What else could it be? My mother threw up her hands. We've given you everything. We paid for your education. I had a scholarship, I interrupted, and worked 20 hours a week to cover living expenses. We would have helped if you'd asked, my father countered. You've always been so independent, so capable. Amber needs more support. No, I said firmly. Amber gets more support. There's a difference. That's ridiculous. My mother scoffed. We've always treated you both fairly. Really? I walked to my bedroom and returned with a shoebox. Let me show you something. I opened the box and began laying out items on the coffee table. A birthday card from when I turned 16 with a $50 gift card inside. Next to it, a photo of Amber's 16th birthday showing her with her new Honda. My high school graduation announcement alongside a bank statement showing the $200 my parents deposited as a gift. A newspaper clipping of Amber's volleyball team with my parents prominently featured in the stands. My college acceptance letter with no congratulatory note. And finally, a bus ticket from earlier that day. This is a record of inequality, I said quietly. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 small ones over many years. My parents stared at the items, momentarily speechless. You've kept all this? My mother finally asked, her voice small. Not to throw it in your faces someday, I explained. But to remind myself that I wasn't imagining things, that the difference in how you treated us was real. Before they could respond, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Grandma Hannah, who must have taken a taxi from her hotel. I thought you might need reinforcements, she said, stepping inside. Her eyes narrowed when she saw my parents. I see the conversation has started. Mom, this isn't your business, my mother began. When my granddaughter takes a bus to her college graduation while you parade around with Amber in a brand new Tesla, it becomes my business, Grandma Hannah replied sharply. Stephanie, you're repeating exactly what your father did to you and Carol. My mother flinched at the comparison. That's completely different. Is it? Grandma Hannah asked. Your father favored you because you are outgoing and charming like him. You favor Amber for the same reason. Carol was studious and quiet like Brooke. You resented how your father treated Carol. Yet here you are doing the same thing to your own daughter. A heavy silence fell over the room. My father, who had been defensive throughout, finally spoke. Brooke has always seemed fine, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. She never complained. She shouldn't have to complain to be treated equally, Grandma Hannah pointed out. I thought, my mother began, then stopped, staring at the items on the table. I thought because you were successful on your own, you didn't need as much from us. I thought we were giving you space to be independent. I needed parents, I said simply. Not space. My father ran his hand through his hair, looking genuinely troubled for the first time. The Tesla was excessive, wasn't it? Even for Amber. It's not just about the Tesla, I said. Though making me take the bus to graduation while buying her a luxury car certainly brought everything into focus. What do you want from us now? My mother asked, and I was surprised to see tears in her eyes. How do we fix this? I don't know if you can fix 22 years of inequality overnight, I admitted. But acknowledging it is a start. And understanding that going forward, our relationship will have boundaries. Boundaries? My father looked alarmed. What does that mean? It means I won't accept being treated as less than Amber anymore. It means I'll call out favoritism when I see it, and it means I might need distance sometimes to protect myself. My parents exchanged worried glances. This was new territory for all of us. I've accepted a job interview in Portland next week, I continued. If I get it, I'll be moving. Not to punish you, but because I need a fresh start. Portland, my mother repeated. But that's 3 hours away. 3 hours is nothing if you actually want to visit, I pointed out. And there are these amazing inventions called phones that work across state lines. My father almost smiled at that. You've really thought this through. I've had years to think about it, I replied. I just never had the courage to say it out loud. We talked for another hour, moving through decades of hurt and misunderstanding. There were no perfect resolutions, no tearful group hugs like in the movies. My parents didn't suddenly transform into the perfectly supportive mother and father I'd always wanted. But there was something new in the way they listened. Really listened. Perhaps for the first time. As they prepared to leave, my mother hesitated at the door. I never meant to make you feel less loved, she said softly. I think I saw too much of myself in Amber and too much of Carol in you, and I projected all my complicated feelings onto that. I know you didn't do it maliciously, I acknowledged, but impact matters more than intent. After they left, Grandma Hannah stayed a while longer, helping me process the conversation. Do you think anything will change? I asked her. People can change, she said thoughtfully. But it takes time and consistent effort. Don't expect miracles, but don't close the door on progress either. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text. To my surprise, it was from Amber. Can we talk? Just us. 20 minutes later, Amber arrived at my apartment, looking uncharacteristically subdued without our parents as an audience. I heard everything, she admitted, sitting across from me at my small kitchen table. I was waiting in the car, but then I followed Mom and Dad up. I stood in the hallway listening. And? I prompted when she fell silent. And I never realized, she said, picking at her perfectly manicured nails. I knew I got more stuff, but I thought. I don't know what I thought. That you didn't care about material things. That you were above it all somehow. I'm not above wanting to be valued, I said quietly. Amber nodded, looking genuinely troubled. I've been pretty awful, haven't I? You were a kid responding to the dynamic our parents created, I said, surprising myself with the generosity of the statement. We both were. Still, she bit her lip. I'm sorry, Brooke. And, she hesitated. I told Dad I don't want the Tesla. It feels gross now. I raised an eyebrow, genuinely shocked. Really? Don't look so surprised, she said with a hint of her usual attitude. I can occasionally do the right thing. We talked for another hour, awkwardly at first, then with increasing honesty. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation. Too much water under that bridge. But it felt like the beginning of a different kind of relationship, one based on who we actually were, not the roles we'd been assigned in our family drama. As Amber was leaving, she turned back with unexpected vulnerability in her eyes. Hey, if you get that job in Portland, maybe I could visit sometime, see what your life is like there. I'd like that, I said, and meant it. Later that night, as I sat alone in my quiet apartment, my phone rang. It was Thomas from the library. Sorry to call so late, he said. But I just heard from my friend at Horizon Marketing in Portland. They want to interview you next week. And Brooke, they're really excited about your application. I smiled, feeling a sense of possibility opening before me. So am I, Thomas. So am I. 1 month after graduation, I stood in my nearly empty apartment, surrounded by boxes. The Portland job offer had come through, a junior marketing position at Horizon with potential for growth. The salary wasn't extraordinary, but it was enough for a modest studio apartment and a fresh start. More importantly, it was something I had earned entirely on my own merit. Jessica sat cross-legged on the floor, helping me sort through the last of my belongings. I still can't believe you're really leaving, she said, carefully wrapping a framed photo of us from freshman year. I can hardly believe it myself, I admitted, but it feels right. The months since graduation had brought unexpected changes in my family dynamic. There had been no dramatic transformation. My parents hadn't suddenly become perfectly attuned to my needs, but there were small shifts that suggested they were at least trying. The previous weekend, my father had asked me to lunch, just the two of us, something that had never happened before. We sat across from each other at a local cafe, initially awkward without Amber or my mother to fill the silence. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, he finally offered, stirring his coffee unnecessarily, about always feeling overlooked. I waited, giving him space to continue. I think, he said slowly, I assumed that because you were so capable, you didn't need as much from me. I focused on Amber because she seemed to need more guidance, more attention. He looked up, meeting my eyes. But that wasn't fair to you. No, I agreed. It wasn't. I can't change the past, he continued, but I want you to know that I see how hard you've worked, how much you've accomplished on your own, and I'm sorry I wasn't there for more of it. It wasn't everything, but it was something. An acknowledgement I'd been waiting years to hear. I'd like to help with your moving expenses, he added. Not because you need it, but because I want to support this new chapter. Initially, I wanted to refuse, to prove I could do it entirely on my own, but I realized that accepting help didn't diminish my independence. Sometimes support was just support. Thank you, I said. I'd appreciate that. My mother's attempts at connection were more awkward, but equally sincere. She'd invited me for coffee the day after my lunch with Dad, clearly having coordinated their efforts. Portland has some beautiful neighborhoods, she said, having researched the city extensively. The Pearl District is supposed to be very trendy for young professionals. It's also very expensive, I pointed out. I'll be in a smaller neighborhood across the river. She nodded, absorbing this information. You know, I've never lived more than 10 miles from where I grew up, she said unexpectedly. Sometimes I wonder what it would have been like to start fresh somewhere new. I saw something in her eyes then, a hint of envy perhaps, or regret. It occurred to me that my mother's favoring of Amber might have been about more than just preferring her personality. Perhaps she saw in Amber the confident, popular girl she had been, and in me the road not taken, the serious, ambitious path she might have chosen. It's not too late, I suggested. To try new things? She smiled sadly. Some roads close behind you, but I'm proud that you're taking yours. The word proud hung between us. Unfamiliar, but welcome. Even Amber had shown surprising growth. True to her word, she had refused the Tesla, asking our parents to return it. Instead, she kept her Honda and suggested they donate the difference to a scholarship fund. Whether this change would last remained to be seen, but it felt like a significant step. A knock at the door pulled me from my reflections. Jessica opened it to reveal my parents and Amber, come to help with the final moving preparations. We brought lunch, my mother announced, holding up bags from my favorite sandwich shop and packing tape. Your father read online that you always need more tape than you think. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity, boxing final items, loading my father's SUV, and cleaning the apartment. The dynamic between us was still finding its footing. Conversations sometimes stalled into awkward silences, but the effort on all sides was tangible. As we prepared to caravan to Portland, my parents driving the loaded SUV, while I followed in my newly reliable used car, a graduation gift from Grandma Hannah, Amber pulled me aside. I found this, she said, handing me a small box. It was in the storage closet at home. Inside was a faded blue ribbon. My first place award from the science fair all those years ago. The one my parents had missed. I don't know why I kept it, Amber admitted. Maybe even then I knew it mattered. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw something new. Not the golden child who had everything handed to her, but a young woman beginning to recognize her role in our family's complicated dynamic. Thank you, I said simply, tucking the ribbon into my purse. The drive to Portland marked both an ending and a beginning. As Seattle faded in my rearview mirror, I felt a weight lifting. Not the complete resolution of 22 years of family history, but the liberation of having finally spoken my truth. My new apartment was tiny, but mine. A clean slate in a city where no one knew me as Amber's sister or the responsible one. As my parents helped carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs, I watched them taking in the modest space with new eyes, not judging, but seeing my choices as valid on their own terms. After everything was unloaded, we stood awkwardly in the small living area, the moment of departure hanging between us. Well, my father said, jingling his car keys. I guess we should hit the road if we want to make it back before dark. Thank you, I said, for helping with the move. Of course, my mother replied. That's what family does. The phrase struck me as both ironic and hopeful, a statement of what should have been all along, and perhaps what could be going forward. As they prepared to leave, my mother hesitated, then pulled me into a hug, tighter and longer than any I could remember. I'm so proud of you, Brooke, she whispered. I should have said that more often. After they left, I stood alone in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes yet to be unpacked and a future yet to be written. The journey from invisibility to empowerment wasn't complete. Such transformations never are. But I had taken the crucial first step of recognizing my own worth, regardless of whether others could see it. My phone pinged with a text from Grandma Hannah. How does it feel to be exactly where you're meant to be? I smiled, looking out the window at my new city stretching before me. Like the beginning of something important, I typed back. The bus ride to graduation had been painful, yes, but perhaps necessary. The final indignity that pushed me to claim my voice and my value. In the end, the greatest graduation gift wasn't a car, or even recognition from my parents. It was the discovery that I could stand in my own light, create my own celebrations, and build a life that honored my worth, whether others recognized it or not. As I unpacked my first box, I came across the journal Thomas and my library coworkers had given me, opening it to find a quote they had inscribed on the first page. Your worth is not determined by others' ability to see it. I ran my fingers over the words, thinking of Dr. Chen's commencement speech, Doris on the bus, Grandma Hannah's unwavering support, and all the people who had seen me clearly when my own family couldn't.